I'm William O'Flaherty, and this is Adult Autism with William. You can find me online at adultautismwithwilliam.com. My primary focus is on adults diagnosed with level 1 autism, whether it be later in life or when they were a child. Today, Mike Howitt returns as a guest to finish talking about his 10 ways that you can support autistic people that cost you nothing. Previously, we covered the first 6 points. After briefly recapping them, numbers 7 through 10 will be covered. Mike is the author of Not Me, Us. Later, we'll have him share where you can find him online and as well as where you can get the book. Welcome back to Adult Autism with William, Mike.
It's great to be here.
Well, we'll jump in, but or let me just briefly remind people before we do that, and that is I did do a standalone interview where you provided a snapshot or glimpse about some of your a backstory about being diagnosed autistic, as well as just some of the things in terms of the adjustment that was. But of course, they'll get a more complete story in your book, The Not Me, Us. Okay, well, so we talked that in terms of recapping here, since people can listen to what you elaborated on, which is more than what is actually in this handout that you provide. And one of the things I did note at the end of part one was that you're available for speaking. People can reach out to you on your Facebook page, which is called what again?
It's called Lost Wisdom.
Okay, and we will have a link in the description. You do provide a email address, and so people can reach out to you there.
Correct. Right.
Um,
So,
and
or they can message me. Right.
True. Okay. Yes. Yeah. True. Yeah. They could email or the Facebook messaging as well, so that can work out. But so just to recap, we're going to go straight from that handout, which there's a link in the description for people to be able to download that as well. And so we're going to go back and forth sharing what he actually has on the handout, and then for the remaining four, I'll briefly pitch the or mention the opening sentence, so to speak, of the each of the remaining points, and then have Mike elaborate on that. And so you won't get everything that he has said in his handout, but the handout has the essential parts. So you will hopefully enjoy the elaborations that we have. All right, with that out of the way, I guess maybe Mike will have you start out since I've been jabbering for a little bit to do the first one. So what does your handout say?
Okay. The first thing I mention is get as much information about autism as possible from autistic people who support their community. If you choose to contribute to charities or nonprofits, make certain that autistics play more than a token role in determining the objective of the organization.
All right, then number two is give autistic people the benefit of the doubt. Chances are we have lived a lifetime of being labeled obstinate, difficult, annoying, rude, forgetful, antisocial, or overzealous. Thus, we expend much of our mental energy when others are around us attempting to avert these misunderstandings. The fact that misunderstandings frequently occur, nevertheless, does not mean that we are not trying.
Point number three, similarly recognize that autistics face a great disparity in expectations. We are supposed to do our best to accommodate the non-autistic world and suffer for doing so unsuccessfully, but often face resistance when asking for others to accommodate our needs.
Fourthly, acknowledge the importance of a positive understanding of autism. Thinking of autism as a defect, disease, or deficit is not helpful. It's preferred to think of autism as a difference and a disability, but not a flaw. Choosing non ableist language consistent with this understanding is crucial to our empowerment.
Number five, please don't try to fix us. I acknowledge that autism can be a challenge to both autistic individuals and those in their lives, but much of quote unquote autistic behavior is simply a difference. We have a different operating systems than other people, and attempts to mold us into something we are not can be very harmful. Some of us may seem very normal on the surface, but maintaining that facade can be very damaging to our mental health. Many of us seek better coping skills, but these should always be offered with the integrity and well-being of the autistic individual as a primary concern.
Then sixth, for the recap, and then the seventh one, we'll have Mike speak off the top of his head on the rest here. Number six, realize that we are not all alike. Autism exists on a spectrum, but not that of very autistic to slightly autistic, as many imagine. Our strengths and challenges can vary. The difference between autistics and non-autistics does not lie in any one trait, but in the frequency and intensity of autistic tendencies and how they align. Statements such as "we are all a little autistic" are very invalidating.
Okay. And number seven, and I will elaborate upon this after stating it. Know that most of us want to have friends and make connections, but our manner of going about these things can be very different than those of most people. We can tend to be conversationally challenged by non-autistic standards, but light up when we have a chance to talk about an interest. What may be seen as isolating behavior may be nothing more than us meeting our need to recharge. We may seem insensitive at times because our emotional responses do not match that of those of others around us. This does not mean that we lack empathy, but because we were probably still processing. We want the connection, but do not always know how to make it happen in a sustainable manner. So, this is more or less encapsulating at least a lot of the social challenges I've had. Um, Such as I don't know if you've had this, but I had this especially growing up on a pretty regular basis, is that the rest of the family or the rest of whoever I was hanging up out with would get all worked up about something. And I would just kind of be sitting there stoically, and people would say, "Well, what's wrong? Don't you see the problem here? Aren't you?" You know, because I'm not getting on the launching pad with everybody else. And you know, it wasn't until I found out about my autism that that made perfect sense. It wasn't that I was unsensitive, didn't know that this is what I didn't see the situation. It's just that my way of dealing with it, my way of processing it did not match that of my peers. And I'm the one who's seen as kind of aloof or um, unconcerned about what's happening. Uh, you know, and many of us desperately want to make connections. We definitely want to go with the flow of what's going on socially, um, but it's not always apparent to us how to make that happen. And as is often the case, um, given our processing challenges, it might occur to me minutes, hours, days, even years after an event that that would have been the perfect reaction, or I should have said that, or
Uh-huh.
something of that nature. And you know, it's um, just because I'm not on that same vibe or wavelength, those things can just completely go over my head, or I just don't catch them. Um, I might eventually catch them, but it just, oh, that's what was happening. That's what should, I mean, but you know, uh, I try not to beat myself up about those things anymore, but I kind of just chuckle about it, and okay, now it makes sense.
Right. And at the time of this recording, I had just started a couple months ago working at a new job. I won't go into a whole lot of details, but I'll briefly share here. And that is, I'm working for an outside agency, working in a school system with just the kids. It's in a counseling role. Anyway,
Okay.
nevertheless, so I instantly had an immediate caseload. And so that was going to be very socially demanding, but it was in my wheelhouse of my skills. But at this point in time, my mix and mingle, which is, not required or whatever, but I'm not mixing and mingling much with the other staff. And I'm sure, a few of them might be wondering, oh, why is this guy not very friendly or whatever, whatever. Or maybe none of them are thinking anything at all. Um, and I will share another brief story related to that, and that is, um, so I was going to get some water, and in the teacher's lounge, it was at lunchtime, and so I go in not knowing where it's at. I haven't gone into that room, so it's very overstimulating. It's not a large room, mind you, but I go in and I don't know what to do, and this one person tries to help me by getting a cup, and then they accidentally then drop all the cups, and I'm just standing there not helping them, of course, realizing after the fact it would have been very good. And then I haven't said anything really to them since, and I haven't had necessarily a direct opportunity. But hindsight is 2020, as they say, for anyone. But so it's like after the fact, it's like, okay, I probably seemed pretty foolish, or maybe they felt so foolish that they didn't think much of it afterwards. But anyway, that social awkwardness is definitely there. I don't know if my story made you think of anything that you wanted to share briefly related to that, or
Yeah, I would say that probably I guess my fact that I don't actually come out and talk a lot unless it's either exchanging information or making sure I'm on the same page with somebody that I'm supposed to be doing something with towards a common goal. But as far as chit chat or small talk, it's nothing that I can even approximate very well. So I mean, and that probably strikes a lot of people as okay. I would think is okay. Is this guy just brusque and uh, unconcerned about human contact? But I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's just that my way of going about that, my way of experiencing it is going to be different. And I see what the non-autistics are doing with their what we would think of as idle chit chat. Yeah, they're building trust. They're doing things that they can see, I guess, on an or feel on an unconscious level that we might not actually be in tune with. I won't say that there's a better or worse way to converse. Um, Ours is again very information oriented. Uh, Non-autistics less so, but they both have their own set of objections. They probably both assume a certain processing system. One way I put it is that non-autistics like to capital talk about lowercase stuff. Okay, the stuff is important, but the talking is the activity of the talking is really the focus. Autistics like to lowercase talk about stuff, um, higher case. It's the stuff, the subject matter is the focus, and the activity of talking is and conversing is less of the focus. So I mean again, it's just a different way of being wired. It's but since we're the unusual ones, we're the ones that have to try to convince the rest of the world of that.
all right, then for number 8 here, I'll just read the opening sentence here, and then Mike will elaborate on it, whether he's sharing directly from the paper or not. He'll be expounding on it, and this is an important point, especially after what we've just talked about, and that is don't assume stereotypes. What are you trying to say here?
Right. I mean, uh, once again, we touched on this in the earlier part of our talk, is that we're all different. I mean, it's just because we share a condition or whatever you want to call it, doesn't mean we're all going to be the same. And unfortunately, popular media gives us lots of autistic stereotypes. For instance, the person who's just very stiff and robotic, right? Or the one who's just over the top quirky, right? And usually along with that is being some kind of savant characteristics. Somebody's going to be really off the charts smart in one way or another, but when it comes to socializing, wow, let's get the laugh tracks rolling for that because there's going to be something funny happening there, you know. So, again, some of these apply to me.
Um,
I have to say that's true, but being stereotyped is not good for any category of person. And people will need to see beyond that, that there's more to us than just that. Um, One another thing is that's related to this, and I see it as a concern, maybe some other people don't, but comparisons to famous, notable people who either claim the autism label for themselves or are surmised to be among us. To me, that doesn't help. It might be great to know that we're in good company,
mhm.
but to me, that sets a standard that most of us not going to ever live up to. So, well, this person is autistic and they've done all these notable things. You know, the implication at least seems to be, well, what's wrong with what's wrong with the rest of you? You know, why can't you get up to those standards? And I mean, for most people in general, that's never going to happen. But I think that kind of um, puts us among an elite that we might not necessarily want to be in. At least for me. I mean, some people might be extremely validated by that, and that's a perfect right. But to me, it's something I tend to stay away from. I don't really care for armchair diagnosing anybody um, either. But again, that's up to other folks if they're gonna, you know, if they see it differently, then I think that's something that once again said in this, good folks can disagree about.
Sure, yeah. Well, and I'm thinking on my channel early on when I was emphasizing about no two autistics are alike, and the fact that you just can't look at someone and say that they're autistic from a picture or whatnot. And I did that by sharing stilled images, maybe ironically, of various famous people who have clearly been or acknowledged that they were diagnosed autistic, which that can be a double-edged sword in terms of some could be inspired by it, like,
Right.
oh, look at so and so. I'll name a couple people here, that's clearly autistic, and that is someone like Anthony Hopkins. Since I have an interest in C.S.
Right.
Lewis, he's played many more characters. Maybe some people don't even realize that he did play C.S. Lewis back in the 90s in a movie called Shadowlands. And
Okay.
so that for some that could be inspiring. For some that could be unrealistic. It's like, oh, hey, you're going to be an actor just like Anthony Hopkins.
Mhm.
But like they have no, maybe they might still have an interest, but their skill set or their whatever natural ability per se may not be in the same realm, and so that can be an unrealistic expectation. So
Right.
it's better to say that there are people who have achieved great things, but it doesn't mean that you're going to reach that same level. That's why for some they may say or kind of embrace, the autism or ADHD is a superpower in certain ways, but then for other people they may get discouraged by that because of various different things that they have difficulties with. And so it's like, oh, I'm never going to amount to that, so I'm just going to give up. So,
Right, right.
uh,
And I guess one that I have found, I guess directly, indirectly, is kind of this notion that um, we are all great in science, technology, engineering, math, that kind of thing. Um, and that's those are all areas where I'm kind of challenged. I mean, I do have academic gifts, and I'm glad for them, but definitely not in those areas. Yeah.
hmm. All right, then now number nine, you start out with include us, but in an inclusive way.
Yes, and I mean, I always like it when my family at least invites me to something, even if it's something, and my wife will often say, okay, because she has season tickets to the local soccer team. Okay. That's in a 60,000 seat arena. It is sensory overloading nightmare for me. And she knows that. I mean, even if I try to use some, devices and whatnot. Um, it's just too much, too much. But she'll say, I'm going to the game on Saturday night. You haven't happened to change your mind about all that, and we both know what the answer is going to be. But it's nice of her to make the gesture, right? Um, and the fact that she understands when I say no, that's her being inclusive. Okay, that's her being understanding. Um, uh, so yeah, I can get overstimulated at just your run-of-the-mill family get together if it's more than four or five people. Um, yes, it's just the way I say, give us the opportunity of opting out without judgment. I think that's a fair accommodation that can be done in most. Now, sometimes I will grin and bear it, especially if it's something involving, say, a milestone for my daughter. It's well. I'll probably be uncomfortable in this setting, but I want to see her, be in this game or participate in this or whatever it might be. Um, so I mean, uh, you have to adapt, you have to give and take. I understand that, but uh, I am grateful I'm in a situation where I can be included in some things and some things being asked to and given the opportunity to say thanks but no thanks and nobody holding in that against me.
Mhm. Perfect. All right. Well, then our 10th and final one, it starts out with believe us and allow us to tell our own stories in our own ways. How would you briefly expound on that?
Well, I mean, uh, that was probably my main motivation behind writing the book is to be able to do that, tell my own story according to my own self-understanding on my own terms. Without anybody saying, well, you sure about this? uh, it's, uh, we get a lot of um, pushback from a lot of people, and even identifying as autistic. And it's not helpful. Um, you hear from some people, and well, you don't look autistic. You don't seem autistic. And I try to handle that as politely as possible because some people just don't know.
Mhm.
Um, different ways that autism can present. Um, they might have limited experience. So I try to be polite and I say, well, yes. it does exist on a spectrum, and hey, you know what? I've been really good at practicing the normal act, and that's probably the face you see of me most of the time. But behind all that, there is this autistic person. You might not recognize me if I when I've completely dropped the mask, and it's not always safe for us to drop the mask, is it? Right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's this just allow us to be as authentic as we can be, and don't tell us how to feel about ourselves or how to characterize who we are.
Well, okay, Mike. Thanks for being here on the show and telling us these 10 points. To close out the segment before I do a final goodbye on my own, go ahead and tell us about where people can find you online, as well as getting your book.
All right, again, it's Lost Wisdom on Facebook. Again, I have chosen that title just because I represent one of the lost generations, as they call us, roughly Gen X and older ones in the community. Um, I have the book for sale on Amazon, permanent markdown of $9.50 US dollars. And it's called Not Me, Us, the story of a middle-aged autistic and the quest to empower others with similar stories. And I am in the process of trying to get together a speaker page, but I do live in, I'll reveal where I am because I pretty much do so on my webpage anywhere. I am in the greater Charlotte area in North Carolina. So anything usually within a 2 hour drive, I'm willing to do an appearance, and I'll offer signed copies of my books, a book, an encapsulated um, version of my story, and I'm always happy to answer questions to the best of my ability.
All right, great. And I hope people will check out your uh, place of where you're at now on Facebook. And then if there's any changes, I'll try to update in the description to where people can track you down if you do get that speaker page and whatnot. So
Okay, well,
thanks again. Thanks again, Mike, for being on the show.
thank you for having me on again. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks for joining me for the show today. As mentioned, if you haven't heard the first part where Mike elaborates on the points 1 through 6, then check the description for a link. There is also a link in the description for a PDF version of the entire list, but it doesn't contain our conversation. Rather, it is the handout Mike uses when he speaks. On a related note, as mentioned today, you can reach out to Mike if you are interested in having him speak at a group event. You can reach him via his Facebook group. There is a link in the description. Likewise, I am also available for speaking. Just reach out to me to work out the details. If you haven't already, please consider liking this episode, subscribing to my channel, and sharing this show with others. Thanks again for watching Adult Autism with William. I'm William O'Flaherty.